This is another time that I was in Japan and just some very weird things happened to me. You get caught up in the day to day and just commuting from one place to another. Your mind decompresses and your mind starts to wander. Sometimes you even fall asleep. I mean, you're just stuck on the train while it moves you from one place to another. One time in particular, when I was on the train, I noticed that they had, passed by my stop. I was going down the hallway and I saw a gentleman who had a container full of cicadas. Clearly, he indicated that he would like me to help him catch those, so I spent just a good couple of minutes walking around on the train catching cicadas, giving them back to the guy, which, just wanted to help people out. I did talk to the train conductor, and he told me that the train company would reimburse me for my problems. Wasn't that big of a deal. The following day, same thing, jumped on the train, kind of got in my usual seat. This time, after I woke up, there was a little girl on the train, and she told me that she had lost her dad. So I walked around, checking in with passengers, seeing whose kid this was. Couldn't find her dad, but in the end, after walking around the train, I noticed the little girl was gone. I couldn't find her anymore. Super weird for a kid to need help and then they're gone, but I guess they must have found their parent. I didn't really think much of it after that. So the next night, I get back on the train and the lights go out after I sit down in my seat. And I don't know what to do. So I walk around the train, trying to find somebody. There's nobody else on this train. It is legitimately just me. Starts to freak me out. I'm wandering around on this train, and I notice that there's a woman in the darkness, and I didn't see her before, but I kind of ask her, "Hey, do you know what's going on?" She replies back to me. She says, "I've been told to summon the helper for you." What does that even mean? What does that mean? And then kind of everything goes black. So I kind of wake up. I don't really remember how I was sitting back on my seat, but I was. And I start walking around on the train. And as I'm walking around, there's an older gentleman on the train. And I go up to him and I say, "Hey, you know what we're doing here?" And he says, "Don't I remember you?" And I look at him and I'm like, "Yeah, I do remember you." He actually ended up helping me at a previous time in my life, and I wouldn't be the person that I am today if it wasn't for him. And I ask him how he's doing, and he says he's doing okay. And he says, "But it's not about me. This is about your journey. You're gonna stop at 3 stops coming up, and you have to pick the right stop to get off at. And only you remember which stop it is. The first stop comes by, and it doesn't seem like my stop, so I don't get on. Second stop comes by. Again, that doesn't seem like my stop. I don't get off. The third stop comes by, and it seems kind of like my stop. Not 100%, but it seems kind of like my stop. I tell him goodbye, and I jump off the train. Fast forward, that was my stop. Went home, I did all my stuff, I went back to work, and on the train the following day, where all these weird events have happened, I'm on the bench in the subway, and the lights start flickering. First it's 1 light, then it's 2 lights, then it's 3 lights, then almost all the lights are flickering. And at this point, I'm freaking out. I'm really freaking out. And there's what looks like a woman that's kind of laid on the ground. It's kind of slowly crawling at me. The train starts coming, and as soon as the train comes, I dart. I jump on the train. I am so terrified of what I just saw, and I want to get as far away from it as I possibly can. It is absolutely incredibly terrifying. So now that I'm on the train, I'm looking around, and I take my seat in my normal spot, and I fall asleep, and we've passed my stop yet again. This is happening way too much. I stand up and I walk to the conductor's area. Once I get to the conductor's area, there's no conductor. There's nobody operating the train. But the train is moving. And it's going. And I'm searching around, trying to figure out how to stop the train, how to operate the train. I've got to take control of the train somehow to stop it from doing what it's doing. And as I'm looking down and I'm trying to operate the controls, I look up and there's a woman. And we hit her. I mean, full blood splatter. We hit her. And at that moment, I open the door to the next car, and it's filled with blood, as if she just full splattered inside of the train car. It's covered with blood from the walls to the floor. There's entrails hanging from the ceiling. I mean, it is one of the most grotesque sights you've ever seen. And I have to start walking through it because there's nothing else I can do. I need the key to operate the conductor's area. Every step that I take, my shoes are sticking to the floor. It smells of foul odors and the stench of blood as I'm walking through this absolutely grotesque train. And I get to the very end car, which should technically be the other conductor suite because there's 2 engines on a car. And I go to open that car, and one door opens, and I look down into the car, and I notice that there's not a conductor, but there's that woman that was crawling on the ground towards me at the train stop before, and I am terrified. I start running, but she is incredibly fast. And as I'm running, I can hear her coming up behind me faster and faster and faster, and I can't run fast enough. And eventually, I trip and everything goes black. Now, you might say that you don't know what happened, but what did happen, what kind of happened, is all kind of a blur after that. I remember seeing the elderly gentleman that I remember from high school sitting on a bench, and he tells me that I've made it to this point, but it's not yet my time. I need to find a phone, and I need to call home. I look around, I see a phone, and I use it, and I call home. And when I call home, my wife answers. Now, just so you know, I wasn't expecting my wife to answer. And she says, "Where are you?" And I tell her, "I am." And she says, "Don't worry. I know where you are. I'll come and get you." And just a few minutes later, she's there. She pulls up in the car. We hug. A hug that you could only give somebody that you haven't seen in the longest time. A hug that people dream of having with someone who they just never thought they could ever hug again. And we get back home, and she unlocks the door to our house. And I walk through the door, and I tell her, "I've missed you so much. I can't believe that you're here with me. I missed you." And as I turn around and look, she's gone. She's disappeared. And after that, I just go back to work. I do my job. I ride the train. And I go back home, waiting every day for the day that I get to see her again. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was The Ghost Train. If you want to play the game, it's available on Steam. And please comment in the comment section below and tell me about creepy stories and experiences that you have had. I can't wait to hear from you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.